Hello, everyone. It is Heidi here, and I am going to start this video again because there we go. We are live. Hello. Uh, if you haven't met me yet, my name is Heidi, and these videos and my company, Tantra, exist to help you get the relationships that your soul really craves. And I like to say that's all relationships, whether that's your relationship with a boss, a beloved, or even something like your big toe. Today, I'm going to chat about something called the friction of bliss. I'm going to give you some tools and perspectives to look at tough situations in life in a sexier light. All right. So, have you ever had a situation where you weren't sure what the outcome would be and you stressed yourself out only to reach the resolution and think, why was I stressing that whole time? Things are going to work out the way they're going to work out. Maybe that was in a relationship where you were constantly wondering, are we going to be together? Are we not going to be together? Or a job that you really wanted. And you got to the end of the journey and you look back and you thought, wow, I actually kind of wasted that experience. I was so stressed out about the outcome that I didn't really enjoy the ride. And maybe you've even done that for a whole week, looked back at the previous week or the month. Or perhaps as you start to think about this, you might even think, wow, I've kind of been doing that my whole life. I've kind of been stressed about the outcome of things until they're already complete. And that's a way that we sort of push friction out of our life, that we sort of eschew friction. We don't want that fight between two possible outcomes. We just want to know what it is. We just want the comfort of everything being perfect, everything going the way I want it, and not having to worry about the future. But let's extrapolate. Let's imagine that we could get our wish. I've got this saying that I tell myself all the time, and it's what I'm attached to isn't necessarily what's going to make me happy. Because sometimes I get these little attachments, like I really need to have a chocolate brownie right now, or I really need to live in that house, or I really need to go to this country on my trip. And sometimes they form these little, like, concretized thought patterns, and I start to think, I really, really need that, or I'm really not going to be happy without it. And I've been so shocked at times when I've actually felt that attachment just evaporate, just dissolve. And I realized it's not even what I wanted. It's not even what I wanted. And I spent all this time thinking about what if it doesn't happen? Oh, it's going to be so terrible if it goes the other way. And so today I want to talk about friction, this force that we don't like, that we just want to go away. But yet, it's the very force that's making us happy. It's actually the source of our bliss. So think of some examples where friction has actually been a good thing in your life. Maybe you had a hard workout, and during the workout, you wanted to die, and you just counted the minutes until it was over. Almost unbearable. Or maybe when you're dating and there's someone who's so opposite of you, or maybe your partner, your wife, your husband, or partner, and they're so frustrating because they think differently, they react differently. Their paradigm is frustratingly different than yours. But for some reason, you're attracted to that person. And of course, the most obvious example of friction being a good thing is in lovemaking, in sex, the two opposites coming together and forming this interaction of opposites. And you can probably think of a lot more. Really, every time we go outside of our comfort zone, there's a certain friction there. There's a friction because we are stepping out onto that branch and we don't know what's going to happen. But if you think back to all of the big aha moments, all the breakthroughs, all the times that you really stepped into a new paradigm or opened a new aspect or ability of yourself, it's because you went out of that comfort zone. So friction's something worthy of exploring. And it actually goes much deeper than just these really basic, everyday kind of examples. It goes to the very heart of tantric philosophy. And you might have heard, if you've been following my videos or studying Tantra, these terms Shiva and Shakti. Shiva and Shakti are the primary deities in Tantra, and they represent a whole hell of a lot in our world. We're kind of meaning makers, right? Like, our purpose on this earth is to make meaning of our experience, and we all get to choose how we want to do that. And looking through the lens of Shiva Shakti kind of provides us with this mold that we can see everything through, that we can sort of mold our lives to and experience things through this, make meaning in terms of Shiva Shakti. So the basic premise is that they're these mutually beneficial but opposite forces. And whether you look at them on a macro scale, like something like the Big Bang, the creation of our world, or you look at it as a lovemaking where two humans that are opposite come together and experience sexual polarity and chemistry and experience the bliss of physical pleasure. The same pattern exists where there's two opposites coming together. So there's an opportunity in life to relate to the opposites differently. This might come as a surprise, but in tantric philosophy, we are not striving towards a better world. We're not moving towards a period in time where everything's going to be suddenly better, where everyone's going to be fully enlightened, where suddenly our problems are going to go away on this earth. No, in tantric philosophy, everything is perfect now. It's now, because we're here in this world of polarities to experience the bliss of friction, to experience the opposites, and find a lovemaking in everything. There's a couple different types of Tantra, and you can split it broadly between Neo-Tantra and classical Tantra. And one of the distinguishing features of Neo-Tantra is it takes sexuality and ritualizes it. I do this for some of my couples clients. We'll bring in flowers and offerings and incense, and we'll go through the chakras and make a ritual out of lovemaking, and it's so beautiful. But in classical Tantra, traditional Tantra that started thousands of years ago, what the practitioners are doing is they're actually sexualizing everything, sexualizing all the rituals of life. Whether that be brushing your teeth or fighting with the repetitive thoughts in your head or looking at world politics, all these rituals that we do, classical Tantra sexualizes. And the effect of that is the friction in your life starts to become embraced. You start to appreciate the friction and the pendulum swinging from getting what I want to not getting what I want, because that is the lovemaking. Every time that I can penetrate the sensation in my body with my pure awareness, I'm making love. I'm making love with the moment. I'm making love with the universe. And practitioners of classical Tantra, they live in this highly sexualized state. But it's not sexual in the way that we see in movies or porn or the way that we act out in back seats of cars when we're in high school. It's much more global, much more subtle form of sexuality. And it follows this rhythm of the two opposite, seemingly opposite, yet mutually complementary forces. And what that does is it creates these charges of sexual energy that are running through us all of the time. Whether or not we're engaged in something, we would call sexual, we're feeling that. Because what sexual energy really is our life force. It's the creative force. It creates babies, it creates planets, it creates energy, whether on an atomic level or a spiritual level. And that energy is meant to be alive in us all the time. There's not meant to be this special time where you've known someone for a certain amount of time and you go behind a closed door and then you open your sexual energy. No, your sexual energy is meant to be opened while you're picking up the phone, calling a friend, where you open yourself to fully receive their emotions and the space that they're in, and to set aside your rigid structures of what the conversation should be like, or what you think they should believe, and interpenetrate with your presence in that moment. Whether you're feeling a pain in your body, and rather than taking a pill to make it go away, you're actually journeying deep inside that pain, coming to the nucleus of that pain and interpenetrating with that pain. That's using your sexual energy. And there's stages of this. I I remember, early on, as I was teaching Tantra, I used to have these orgasmic episodes. I would be parked at a red light, and I would just have this orgasmic energy course through my body, and I'd be sitting there convulsing, scaring all the other drivers on the road. And that's how it might be at first, as we open to this energy and we start to see through the lens of lovemaking, as we sexualize all the rituals of our life. Sometimes it's a little bit choppy at first. The energy is overwhelming, so we might feel scared. We might feel that our body's moving in unusual ways, and you might even cause a scene somewhere, and that's fine. That's part of it. Over time, as we get more used to it, then the body starts to accept the energy at a deeper level. It starts to be able to flow through us. And we can actually function normally, even when we're feeling this orgasmic energy. So there was a specific question for tonight about what to do when these sensations are coming through my body. I'm not trying to be, I'm not stimulating myself. I'm not with anyone else, and these sensations are coming. Well, what you can do is relax into them. That's the most important thing. And this applies to lovemaking as well. When we start to feel that pleasure, that intense arousal, we tend to tighten up our muscles. But really what we want to do is the opposite. I want to pause and say hi to everyone who's here. Nice to see you. Giving out some waves. Hello, hello. And if you are here on Facebook, please leave a comment. I don't see the names. I'd love to know who's here. Okay. So the pervasiveness of this energy. And to answer your question about feeling the sensations, first thing you want to do is relax your body and allow more room for those sensations to course through you. And then secondly, if you're experiencing this, you want to start to draw them in closer to your center. Hi, Brendel. Perfect. You want to start allowing those sensations to come closer in. And if you're familiar with yoga, you want to bring them into your central channel, right into your Sushumna Nadi. Because that's where we start to unite our base chakra with our crown chakra. And the base chakra is Shakti Kundalini, and she travels up through the whole body to meet her lover, Shiva, right at the top. So whenever you do yoga or you're working with your chakras, you're actually participating in this sexual ritual. And it's funny to hear, there's almost like this obsession with sex in the tantric tradition, but it's, like I said before, in a more subtle way, to the point where a lot of classical tantrikas, they don't even have sex on the physical realm anymore. They've actually surpassed that very dense, very gross in terms of the density and heaviness of it. They've transcended that, and they're having sex on a energetic level, on a universal level, having sex with the different elements, having sex between consciousness and energy. And so the very people who are the most obsessed with this might actually be celibate. They might not actually be acting this out at all on the physical realm. So that's what I really want you to start thinking about, is how can I make every ritual in my life into a lovemaking? How can I appreciate the opposites? And right now in our world is a time that we have such great choice in who we want to be. And that's really the point of this polar plane that we're on, with all of this friction, all of these directions. Tonight is an important night full of friction in the US and across the world. And if you zoom out and see this whole picture, all the fighting, all the opposition, all the division that's happening, see if you can think about it as God very, very thoroughly expressing every aspect of itself. In the tantric tradition, that's what everything is. It's just another aspect of the divine, and there's no way to fall out of it. And we don't have to be afraid, because there's just, everywhere you go, you're still within Shiva. You're still within the divine. You cannot fall out of it. And so when things look like they're split between good and bad, it's really just God so intensely, thoroughly expressing every last little bit of the terrain of the divine, in all of its polarities, in all of its dark and light, in all of its heaven and earth, in all of its suffering, and all of its bliss, and every single aspect in between. Yeah. So let's decide who we want to be in all of this, because that's why we're here. I love the way Alan Watts puts it, as we are all these little apertures, all these little holes through which the light of the divine streams out. And we're all coming at it from a different angle, from a different perspective. And the more polar our environment, the more polarized, the more divisive it is, the greater we get to stand in who we want to be. And the darker it is out there, the lighter you get to be. And so we can be grateful to certain people and organizations out there who are expressing the dark aspects of the divine, because thank God I don't have to do it. I certainly wouldn't want to play that role in the divine play, in the lila, the divine play of creation. So we can honor the darkness, honor the shadow, and use it as an opportunity to stand in our own light. And now more than ever is the time. And we're being shown that, whatever you've been putting off, whatever conditioning still holding you back, whatever truth of yourself hasn't yet been expressed, now is the time. That's what all of this is showing us, is we can't sit down and blend in with the crowd anymore. We have to show and demonstrate and stand into why we're here, our uniqueness. And if there's anything that, there's stamps that you're still feeling society has put on you, now's the time to explore them. Now's the time to let go of all of them. And so to that end, I'm going to be ramping up the programs that I offer. I'm launching a men's program, the Spiritual Sexual Man, and that's going to be a group program to supplement the private coaching that I do. Let me know if you want info on that. I'm so excited to bring men together who've been on the path, who've done the work, but are ready to take the next step. And I'm also going to be doing a daily meditation, tantric meditations, where we join as a community, because right now is so important to have a daily practice, a non-negotiable daily practice. Yeah. There's lots of events happening. Check out shamayatantra.com. You can watch more videos at Shamaya Tantra on YouTube. And thank you so much for being here, Brendel, Terry, Aaron, everyone on Instagram. Let me know what you want me to discuss next week, and I will see you then. Have a beautiful, polarized, friction-filled, blissful night.